Hi, good day and welcome to your Reading Skills Enhancement version 2, one of the major lectures with regard to your reading examination. So we shall begin with your reading skills enhancement right now. So the comparison between my reading major and reading skills enhancement 1 is those lectures focus solely with the concepts of different areas of the technicalities and aspects of the exam. However, this reading skills enhancement 2 would be discussing every single part of the type of questions which you might encounter on the exam. So this is in relation to your preparatory skills enhancement. That's why it's a skills enhancement lecture. So I will be giving you some materials to use, which is so much better if you would be printing them beforehand, if you would be taking the examination using the pen and paper based, so you better have it printed. So if you don't have that, I suggest that you minimize this recording, all right, and then you check the Google Drive file, which contains the file for the reading skills enhancement. So you will be seeing some scripts from that file because I will be using the same material for your examination so that we would be doing this real time. So how you should take the items, how are you going to take the test, how you should do this and that, how do you do the right things to increase your chances of getting higher band scores. So before we proceed with your discussion, let us first give ourselves an overview, a brief introduction of what is the reading examination as a whole. So this is the second test in the IELTS right after the listening exam. So you will be given a test booklet and an answer sheet. Take note that the listening examination and reading examination answer sheets are very identical, and most of the time there are just one page, so you better get them right, in which you're going to provide and write the correct answers to the designated answer sheet. So this examination has 40 items in total. For academic difficulty, you will be experiencing 3 passages. Meanwhile, for GT, you will have the same number of questions, same number of words for the entire test, but you would only have, 6 passages, but shorter. Okay, both of academic and general training reading would spend. All right, you're expected to spend 1 hour. Remember that no extra time will be allotted, will be provided for you to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. So you better write your answers as you do so in the actual exam. So within the hour provided for the test, you would do some analyzing, skimming and scanning, and writing your answer, transferring them right away on your answer sheet. So you have to be careful on that, because we don't want this situation to happen in which you already are done with your examination and then you are not able to transfer your answer. So definitely it would cost you some great points, because they will not honor your test booklet. Test booklets, same as with the listening test booklets, will be shredded, will be incinerated for recycling purposes, so we cannot, get them back, and they will not honor the words written there. So you're just wasting money if you're not doing the right thing. So whenever you do practices at home, whenever you do practices in the branch, it is better, okay, if you would be doing the exact same thing that you should be doing on the test, which is you are going to transfer your answers as you get them on your answer sheet. So make it a habit that when you do listening and reading tests, you have answer sheet. So you would be getting some answer sheet copies then sa ating Facebook group. Just type in the keyword answer and the link for the answer sheets: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. No, we don't have answer sheets for speaking. Writing task 1, writing task 2 would be would pop up sa aking Google Drive, and then you may print it directly. You don't have to like convert the file into Word anymore, because PDF files can be accessed across any devices: Android OS, iOS, what else? Windows, Linux, any OS. Now, why is the reading test difficult? I have had some students in the past who managed to get impressive scores in writing and speaking with 8. You know, getting an 8 for both writing and speaking is a legendary feat already. But they were only able to get 5 in reading, so which is somewhat disappointing. Kasi, you know, getting a 7 in speaking and writing are very difficult things already. And yet, ang magpo-pull down sa score mo is yung reading, which is supposed to be easier. Okay, so most people overlook the reading test. That's also the reason why we have 3 major lectures for reading. We have the reading major, reading skills enhancement 1, and also the reading skills enhancement 2 for this matter. So there are some contributing factors why it's difficult, especially for academic. The passages there are very monstrous when it comes to its bulk, when it comes to how long the passages are. We are looking into something between 700 to 900 words. So you would be reading 3 of them. So about 2,700 words, 3,000 words, not counting the words in your question, 3,500 words max. So that's really a very tall order, if you ask me. So if you're not aware how to find answers easier, definitely your eyes could get tired eventually. So it would contribute to your unsuccessful attempts to get the right answers. So passages, they are difficult already. We actually experience passage 1 to be about volcanoes, passage 2 to be about airplanes, and then passage 3 about taking care of plants. So different specific ideas could occur in different situations. That is why you have to make sure that you are not going to be confused with your passages from time to time. So you have to check them. Time, of course, if you're going to do the math, you have 3 passages. You have an hour. So you have to spend 20 minutes per passage. So each passage could contain 1 to 13 items. Let's say items 1 to 13, passage 1, 14 to 27, passage 2, 28 to 40. That's your passage 3. So you have to spend 20 minutes each. If you could do it much faster, if you could do it like 15 minutes, that would buy you some time to check and to go back to the missed opportunities for the other items as well. So it is so much better to do it quicker, okay? Type of questions. There are more difficult type of questions than others. For example, multiple choice questions are known to be the easiest. The matching headings to paragraphs and true false not given are actually much more difficult compared to the rest. So you have to be aware of those level of difficulties that could arise in the exam. Take note that the examination's level of difficulty is determined by how many true false not given and matching headings to paragraphs are there in your test. So the more of those multiple choice questions, the easier the exam, the more matching headings and true false not given, the more difficult the exam could be. And yeah, prayer works. You have to pray. Okay. Next, the test does not actually assess your comprehension of the paragraphs, but it assesses how you're going to do or use your specific skills. It does not also assess how well you understood the passage. So this examination is not a test of comprehension. This examination is not a test of understanding. This examination assesses your skills of how you could compare words to and from the passage and the question. And that is very crucial in the reading test. That's why I always remind my students that if you want to be good in the reading exam, you have to attend my Vocabulary 1 lecture, which is the context clues. Most probably, you will not see the same words which you would be comparing from the passage into the questions. The way you analyze them, you could get confused. You could get lost eventually if you don't know that words are not exactly as they would be shown. So it is better to know how to apply context clues in this particular matter. Now, general tip for the reading examination: write time limit per passage, so that when you see the clock, because you will not be allowed to bring watches during the examination, you will be seeing the time flashed on the screen. So there's a time limit from 60:00 to 00:00. Sort of like a countdown bomb timer. So it could get really pressuring us. Para siyang nakaka-pressure. Pag tumiting ka, kulay red pa siya, di ba? Looks like a ticking bomb. So you don't want to look at that countdown timer from time to time kasi mako-conscious ka masyado eh. As much as possible, keep yourself on track by looking at the clock every 20 minutes lang. So, for example, the first passage, I was able to do it with only 18 minutes. So, pwede kang mag-relax sa susunod na passage. Now, the first passage, you spent 24 minutes. So, kailangan mo naman magmadali sa susunod na passage. So, yung pace mo, test-taking pace, would be measured. That's why we have to write your time limit per passage here. Read directions. If possible, please encircle those directions because they are the ones which will tell you what answers do we have to write. And then read questions on the first passage first, underline keywords, and then remember. So analysis, brainstorming will really be tested here. Read the entire passage quickly. Speed read, looking for keywords which you have identified from the question. So we call this the skimming. Skimming is read the entire passage as in biglang scan. Ganyan. And scanning naman. So skimming and scanning, may difference. Si skimming, you are scanning the entire passage. Si scanning naman, you are looking for keywords already from each of those parts ng passage per paragraph. So skimming and scanning, you will do them simultaneously to identify which words you have selected for you to use as your reference. Found your keyword, then stop and answer question. Where are you going to place your answer? On your answer sheet right away. So for example, question number 1, when was zipper invented? Then look for the date zipper invented. Okay, zipper was invented according to paragraph G in 1949. So I would be writing 1949 where? On my test booklet? No, you have to place it right away on your answer sheet since we are not provided with extra time. So we don't want to miss such opportunity. You have to transfer right away. Next up, go on speed reading, looking for other keywords for the other questions. So this is the cycle. Look at the test instruction, then you would be going to the actual instruction itself, and then look for the question, underline keyword from the question, use your context clues, and then skim and scan so that you may be able to find keywords which are synonymous, which are paraphrased from the ones that you are looking for. And then once you understand the context in which they are based, then you can base your formula. You can formulate which answer would be best fit in that particular scenario. And that is how we do the general tip for the test. But this is not always the case because you're matching headings to paragraphs, and true false not given, since they are more difficult than some parts of the question, we would be using different test taking strategy for those two, which I would explain later. Now, exercise, yung first topic natin dito is clocking cultures. We are not going to write any time limits, but if we could do this for about 15 minutes, that would be even appreciated. That's great. So, list of headings ang sample natin dito. Again, list of headings is actually very difficult, and we will be learning now how to do the list of headings properly, how to use the different test-taking strategies to help us understand which heading would probably be the best match for my question. So read directions first and circle the most important keywords. You can remove answer from the example, from the choices list, or what they call the bank. So because they will not be reappearing anytime soon. Okay? And then underline your keywords, the headings from the choices, the list and the bank, and the passage itself in general. So this is how you read your passes. You read the first and then second sentence, and then third, and then middle, and then last sentence, because most importantly, answers appear from the heading. The main clue could appear in the beginning, in the middle, and in the last section of the paragraph. Done answering, check for the number of questions if they correspond to the number of headings in your list. So here is an example. Question 1 to 6. The reading passage has 7 paragraphs. Paragraphs A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, we're going to choose the correct heading for each of the paragraph from the list of heading below. Now, according dito, paragraph A, we already have an answer. And that is Roman numeral number 10. Okay, so ikalagay mo yung letter. For example, paragraph B, meron kang heading. Ito yung choices natin ng heading. I'm going to show you. Alright? Yan. So, nakalagay doon, paragraph B, sorry dun sa answer, hindi ko siya matanggal, naka-fixed. Back in the 1950s, anthropologist Edward T. Hall described how the social rules of time are like a silent language for a given culture. O, tingnan yung mga keywords ko dun, ha? Tapos, he describes how variations in the perception of time can lead to misunderstandings between people from separate cultures. So, ang frequent na word na lumalabas dito is about culture. And if you're going to grab the list from the choices, ano yung mga pagpipilian, meron lang isa doon na magsa-stand out, and that is your Roman numeral 3, learning the laws of time for intercultural understanding. So sir, bakit may laws of time? Kasi social rules. You must know the social rules of the country to know at what point apologies are really due. So the paragraph itself is about why people should learn the laws of time because they want to understand intercultural approach for this one. That is why number 1, paragraph B, is about intercultural understanding through learning the laws of time, and that is stated in your Roman numeral number 3, and that is your answer, which you will place right away on the test booklet. No, on your answer sheet right away. Agad-agad, please. Okay. Next up, multiple choice questions. In this type of the test, you encircle keywords from the question. Mali spelling form. Okay, -1 ako sa grammar. Read and find those keywords in the passage. So you are going to read the questions first and then get the keywords from the question, scan through the passage, at which part do you need to find the answers, because you don't have to read the entire thing. If we're going to read the entire thing, then definitely you would waste a lot of time, valuable time, because you will not be getting anything from them. You will not gain anything from it. The test itself only wants you to find answers and not to understand the passage. Unlike in essay writing, which you have to totally understand the context in which those suppositions are based from. So found your keyword, read all the choices, and then use your very powerful technique in multiple choice question, the process of panghuhula. Joke lang. Elimination, syempre. You eliminate the incorrect answers and then you're going to get the correct answer thereafter. So this is a really great technique for us. Okay, so this is an example. All right. Edward Hall used the example of the ambassador to show that, again, you would be getting the answer from paragraph B because that's the only time there is a mention of Edward Hall. However, you don't have to read the entire thing anymore kasi yung pagbibigay ng example sa ambassador can be found at the latter part of the paragraph. Again, I am teaching you how to save time because I forgot to mention yung tinatawag nating mathematical formula. If you have 60 minutes, if you have 40 items, you are supposed to spend only 1 minute, 20 seconds, exactly 80 seconds for you to answer one item. So if you're going to read the entire thing and then to answer and then read it again, you're wasting valuable time. You're not going anywhere. All right? So these are the options. People in power easily insulted. Rules of time are different now from the past. So ito yung excerpt from paragraph B, yung kanina ko natatandaan niya, sabi niya, an ambassador who has been kept waiting by a foreign visitor needs to understand that if his visitor just mutters an apology, sabi dyan, This is not necessarily an insult, Hall wrote. So, unang-una dyan, people in power daw are easily insulted. Eh, hindi nga daw eh. They are not insulted. This is not an insult, sabi. Tapos, sunod dyan, misunderstanding, or B, rules of time are different now from the past. Wala namang binanggit na in the past, di ba? It's not apology and all. So, you are going to eliminate A and then B. Natitira dyan si C. Problems can be caused by different views of time, and then misunderstanding over time cannot be avoided. So, sort of medyo nakakalitong pagpilian ito kasi yes, problems can be caused by different views of time, especially if there are no understanding of social rules, and then misunderstanding over time cannot be avoided, but there was no mention about misunderstanding, so probably your answer, your best answer case here is letter C. Okay, so number 7, letter C is your answer. Next, okay, dagdagan natin. Alright, in his research, Robert Levine measured the speed at which postal workers blank. Is it A, delivered letters, B, performed a task, learned a new skill, and answered a question? So, the best keyword here would be Robert Levine and then postal workers. Hanapin mo lang siya. And there was only one place where you can find both in paragraph letter C. So, there's no mention of Robert Levine in paragraph A, B, D, E, F, G. So, again, you're only looking at where you can find your answer. So, babasahin ko pa ba yung umpisa? Hindi na. Yung mga geography of time na yan, 1997, 31, 30. No, I just have to look which example did he use or what example did he use for postal workers to measure the speed of time. How quickly postal clerks could fulfill a request for a common stamp. So, let us have a look. So, yan ba ay delivering letters? No. Yan ba ay learning a new skill? No. Yan ba ay answering a question? No. That is performing a task. Diba? Paano daw sila nakakapaggawa ng mga simple requests like common stamp? No, performed a task. So, answer is letter B for number 8. Okay. Next is your gap fill. Summary completion, sentence completion. So the thing is, your questions here, you have some incomplete sentences. You have some incomplete summary, which there are blanks. So the blanks there, the gaps, kaya nga siya gap fill. You have fill in the gap, fill in the blanks. It's pinaarating tawag lang yung gap fill. So there are blanks, which you have to supply answers that you can find from the passage so that it looks a miniature version of the entire thing. Okay, so kaya nga siya summary, kaya nga siya nakasummarize siya into something na smaller, tapos may mga blanks ka doon na-fill, sa mga hanapin yung mga words para ma-fill yung blanks dun sa passage, of course, because dun siya dinerive eh. Alright, so redirections, underline keywords, and then find the keyword in the passage. So this is an example. Different cultures have different theories of time. In the West, time is sometimes said to be like an blank. Dun pa lang, meron na akong clue that for item number 12, alright, an blank. Probably I'm looking for a word that begins with a vowel. Be careful though, kasi meron din tayo mga words that starts with a consonant that cannot be, or that can be used with a vowel, with an article an. Tulad ng an hour. So, H yung spelling nun, pero an yung ginagamit natin na article kasi silent yung H. An hour, an honor, an honest, an heir. Yan. So, be careful. Yan. So, where would I find my answer? So, syempre, the best case here is you underline keywords in the West and then dream time for Australian Aborigines. Pwede mo rin gamitin yun. Tapos, makikita mo dito yan. Ayun yung Australian Aborigines. Ibig sabihin, yung answer ko ay makikita ko bago yon. Okay? So, adjust tayo ng isa. Tapos, nakita ko dito sa West. Pero hindi siya in the West. The Western idea po. O yun, andun siya. Look at Western, West, that is what we call the paraphrasing. Idea of time has been compared to that of an arrow in flight towards the future. So, an arrow, andun yung an. So, ang sagot mo, arrow, ilalagay mo yung word na arrow sa iyong question here. Alright? Next. Look at this. In this paragraph, letter G, alright? Did you know how many paragraphs you have? You have A, B, C, D, E, F, and then G. Ganitong karami yung content niya. So you have to be careful kasi if I'm not going to find the answers quickly, nandun siya agad sa G. Halimbawa, hinanap ko pa A, punta pa ako sa B, punta pa ako sa C. Imagine how many points have been lost already. Diba? So, you have to quickly skim and scan. West, west, west. Okay, andun yung west saan? Sa paragraph G. Andun yung aborigines sa letter G. So, susunod po na answer, tutuloy mo lang yung sa Australian aborigines. Okay? Kaya nga, nabigay ko na rin po ang inyong mga printables for this test. Okay? Sa mga iba naman po na gustong i-take itong exam, wala silang printer, you can grab a copy sa ating branch, especially kung papasok kayo ng Thursday. Alright, you can just grab a copy of the file. Unfortunately, mas malabo yung printed out namin dito kasi bagong version ito. Kakakuha ko lang ng version na itong printable. So, mas malinaw po itong bagong version na hindi pa namin napapaprint. Hopefully by next month. Okay. So, yung luma pa po ang magagamit natin para dito sa practice. So, better print yourself if you have a printer or if you know someone who has a printer, you can like ask for a assistance with that. Next up is arrow for your answer, okay? Exercise smashing stereotypes. Pwede kayo mag-spend dito for 20 to 30 minutes. If you could spend only 20 minutes, that will be better kasi ideal yan for test taking. But since we're just practicing the skills, it's okay to relax for a bit. So short answer questions ang ating first topic dyan. You encircle directions, the most important. Read questions here, underline keyword, and then locate them in the passage. So we are still using the same general statement, the same general test-taking strategy for this particular reason. What is women's motivation for driving? That is your question number 1. Which groups of drivers has grown in number in recent years? What is the most significant factor in accident patterns? And after what age do men and women drive equally safely at night? So we're taking a look first at your question number 1. What is women's motivation for driving? Now, definitely, gamitin ko yung women, motivation, tsaka driving as my keywords. And then I'm going to take a look. So if you're going to notice, sa first paragraph pa lang, nandun na po yung sagot. Okay, nakalagay dyan, in a study titled Male and Female Drivers, how different are they? So, tuloy, boom. He found that men drive faster, commit more driving violations, and are more inclined to drink and drive. They look for thrills behind the wheel. Now, guys, you tell me, is this the men look for thrills behind the wheel? Is this their motivation for driving? Probably yes. That's the word which they are implying. That's the context is very similar for the motivation. While women seek independence. So this is what motivates women to drive. This sense of independence that is being given to them by driving. So ang sagot natin dyan is independence sa question number 1. So sa susunod na items, 2, 3, 4, kayo na bahala dyan, of course, because this is your examination, not mine. Okay? Next up, we got your classifications. You just have to classify them. If later, bigay ko yung A, B, and C na classifications, but kung saan silang category nagpa-fall under. So you have choices, definitely, to classify them. Questions, which your keywords will be underlined, and then read passage, and then locate keyword for question. Okay, so you guys have to understand that. Next up, ito na siya. Question 5 to 9. We're going to classify the following statements as applying to A. It's either men in general. Ibig sabihin, mapa young men, mapa old men. Men siya in general. Hindi kasama yung women. So A ang magiging answer ko. Young men in particular, not old men. Only young men do this. So letter B naman siya. Letter C, if it's both young men and young women. Walang nabanggit sa old women. So pag ito ay young men and young women, definitely letter C ang iyong sagot. They are the most likely to have accidents while driving. The example is letter B. So that's young men in particular, kung babalikan natin yung iyong passage. But here is the example. Number 5. They may follow another car closely to make the driver go faster. So which group ito? Is it men in general A? Is it B, young men in particular? Is it both young men or young women? So we will find out. Tingnan natin, ito po yung entire passage, babasahin ko po sa inyo. Although there is little difference between men and women in the distance they keep from the car in front, there are differences across age groups. Young drivers, ito yung both, show less regard for the danger of following more closely. And young men are likely to close the gap. Ibig sabihin, kung ito ay young drivers, tumututok sila, yes, that's both young men and young women. Pero sabi doon, young men are likely to close the gap even So, mas tinututukan daw niya. So, ngayon, ang sagot, is it C or is it B? Definitely, the answer is letter B. Young men in particular, they are more likely to close the gap even to signal the driver in front to speed up or get out of the way. So, next is your true, false, not given. Again, most of you have struggled a lot with your true, false, not given. We will not be discussing this very elaborately since na-discuss na natin siya sa ating reading major. What I suggest is that after you're done doing this reading skills enhancement 2, if you could go back to my video in this channel as well, find the reading major, and then there I explained the comparison of true, false, not given with examples. So now I will not be discussing it because I've already done that. That's a total waste of energy for both of us because I'm just, going to repeat the same thing over and over again. So the easy thing about true, false, not given is that they appear in order. They appear in succession. You underline the keywords in your question. You encircle modifiers with should, would, could, might, all, always, never, is, are, more likely, less likely, not likely, because they would definitely give us a totally different new meaning to the sentence if you're going to see these words. For example, I eat chocolate. Kevin never ate chocolate for his entire lifetime. So definitely that's the opposite. Most probably that is false. Locate keywords in the passage and translate the question in Filipino, both passage and the question, so that you may be able to understand it better. Pag tinagalog mo siya, mas maintindihan mo siya sa language mo much better. Kasi ang intindihin talaga dito yung context no? And then, we use passage for reference, we use question for analysis. So you do read the questions first, and then you read the passage last, and then you compare. So, here is an example, alright? So, in answering yes, in answering true, it means that the ideas are the same. For example, question, coconuts are a great source of potassium. Tapos, sabi dun sa passage, nuts, different kinds of nuts, like coconuts. I don't know if they are nuts or not, but just an example, are a great source of calcium, potassium, and magnesium. O, included naman siya, di ba? Coconuts are a great source of potassium. Rather, potassium lang muna tayo. Wala muna ako idadagdag. So, coconuts are a great source of potassium. So, that is yes. Kasi exact Sinabi dun kay question, potassium. Sinabi dun kay passage, potassium lang. Okay, stand corrected. Potassium lang. Walang magnesium, walang calcium. Potassium. Alright? So, coconuts, great source of potassium. Potassium can be found in great numbers in coconuts. So, they're the same idea, same concept, so you have to answer yes on that particular occasion. I like eating vegetables. Kevin said that it is his favorite to eat vegetables during meals. O, yes pa rin yun kasi similar no? No, if it's opposite idea, opinion, fact, or it deduces the exact message from the passage. So, example. Okay? Nilagay doon, the colors are red and blue. Tapos sabi kay passage, the colors are red, blue, and pink. So, kulang dito kay question, sobra dito kay passage. So, anong nangyari dyan? So, pag kulang dito kay question, tapos sobra kay passage, it means na yung question statement is not absolutely correct. So, since it's not absolutely correct, this is technically false. Now, when it comes to opposite idea, opposite opinion, opposite fact, nakakita ka ng mga antonyms like up, tapos down, less, tapos more, south, tapos north. So, pag nakita ka ng mga ganong cases, automatically no. Tsaka nakakita ka ng mga never, don't, avoid, mga ganyan na words. So, you have to answer no. Next is not given. It is not mentioned. So, kung kanina, kulang kay question, sobra kay passage, ngayon babalik rin natin yung situation. So, sobra ngayon kay question, kukulangin kay passage. Here's an example. Colors are blue, red, and pink. Sobra kay question. Sabi ko kay passage, blue and red. Oh, sir, bakit not given yon? Kasi yung pink, it was not given in the passage. It's only given in the question. So, yun kasi yung analysis natin Yung question ba, is it Does this accurately match the passage? May kulang, may sobra, sakto. Pag sakto, yes. Pag kulang si question, sobra kay passage, no. Pag sobra si question, kulang kay passage that's not given. Okay, that's how you do this. So if ever pwede kang gumawa ng ganitong table sa iyong test paper, kasi pwede mong sulatan yung test paper, so please do that. Okay? Para hindi malito. Okay, the answer for number 10 is false. There is a common belief that women are becoming more aggressive drivers. Sabi dyan sa number 10. So, bakit false? Sabi kasi sa paragraph 1, and although anecdotal evidence might suggest otherwise, women are not starting to drive as aggressively as men. Not aggressive. Sabi kay 10, more aggressive. So, syempre, opposite. Therefore, false. Kaya, doon natin na-derive yung kanyang answer. Next is, location is everything. Okay? Matching type. So definitely you remove the answer from example. You underline keywords as well. You also read the choices. Check if the number of items correspond to the number of choices. Kasi doon na-determine yung difficulty level na to eh. If they don't match, particularly kung mas marami yung items dito kay questions, then most definitely mas nakakalito ito kasi mas marami kang options na kailangan mong gawin. Next, we have this example. Look at the following description, 1 to 8 in the list of cities below. Match each description to one of the cities. Notes, example yan, grew into a successful trading city because of its location close to the sea. So since nakalagay dito sa option ko is a letter I, ito yung place kung saan malapit sa sea, kaya siya naging successful. So I yung nakalagay na example. So may mga ganyan tayo mga helpers sa test actually. So be careful with that. Makakatulong yung mga ganyan pag binasa mo yung method ng pagtitake ng test. Next is, eto yung list ng questions na we have to answer for the location of everything na passage. Number 1 muna tayo syempre. Yung 2 to 8, kayo bahala dyan. Okay? Number 1 became an important center for banking. So if we're going to skim and scan from paragraph 7, ang layo, di ba? Florence 2 prospered from its wool industry until banking came to dominate its economy. Actually, guys, there is only one word, banking, na na-mention dito sa passage. At ito lang yun. Kaya mo siya talaga kailangan mahanap ng mabilis eh. Ando lang siya, banking. So, Florence. Anong letter si Florence? Letter C. So, letter C is my answer. Okay. Next up. Sentence completion. So, if you guys remember your summary completion kanina, ngayon, yung sentence naman po yung incomplete. Probably, this is cause and effect part. Ito yung cause muna bago ito maging effect. So, meron din itong mga choices. Pwede ito magkaroon ng mga list ng pagpipilian mo ng answers or pwedeng you have to complete the sentence with a word if the instruction tells you. Pero syempre, ang kailangan natin dyan munang makita ay yung instruction. Okay. Question 9 to 14, complete each of the following sentences with the correct endings A to I from the box below. Titingnan natin yan. Sabi dito kay example, as farming became more scientific, not so many people, F. Doon kasi makikita sa F, yung ending niya, kaya F yung sagot. Okay. So, bigyan natin ito ng example. Mas malinaw na example. Number 9. As a result of the development of farming, people blank. So, sabi ba, result, cause and effect ito. Anong naging resulta nung na-develop daw yung farming? Hanapin natin yan sa passage. Sabi dyan sa passage, it was the development of agriculture. Now guys, is the development of agriculture same with the development of farming? Yes, agriculture, farming, they're the same. You know? That enabled humans to settle down and live first as farmers and then as villagers. Ang sabi kasi dyan dito sa first part, dati daw, nomadic life ang buhay ng mga tao. But since na-invent nila ang farming, ngayon, they were able to become villagers. Ano ba ang pagiging villagers? Anong option dyan? Letter I. They were able to live permanently in one place. Hence, ang sagot natin sa number 9 is letter I. Final examination. This is your avoiding gridlock. You have to spend a bit of 15 minutes here. If you could actually do it much faster, it will be even better. Then, time now and end that. So definitely, if it is 10:15 already, you have to do this by until only 11 o'clock. Alright. So, answer mo tayo. Number 1, letter G. Okay. Why? Okay, number 1. A description of the attraction of the car for young people. Ang gagawin natin dyan dito is, i-classify lang to. Saang paragraph makikita yung information, a description of the attraction of the car for young people. Which paragraph can you find the answer for this? So, makikita natin dyan na letter G, sabi dyan, poorly maintained cycling and public transport workers are therefore less appealing than the private cars. So does that mean that there is a description of private cars to young people? Yes, and that would come later. People are also influenced by the car's image of freedom, power, and modernity. To many young people, getting a driver's license is a rite of passage. So everything that has to do with cars' impression is great to young people, and it was stated in paragraph G. Therefore, G is your answer for this particular item. Next up is this one. So you got number 10, exceeds 500 million. So you're going to ask yourself, what exceeded 500 million? So may mga arrows yan. Hindi nakapy yung arrows dito sa aking presentation because of the formatting rules. But you will see some arrows on your actual examination paper, which you will be using to enhance your skills for reading. So you would be applying all the skills that you will learn from this lecture in the application for that. Okay, so you got exceeds 500 million. What exceeds 500 million? Sabi dyan, letter B, paragraph B. Since the end of World War II, motor vehicle production has risen almost linearly. As a result, the global car fleet now numbers more than 500 million. So what exceeds more than? Okay, so yun 500 million, yung global car fleet. Therefore, ang sagot mo ngayon sa number 10 is none other than global car fleet. Now, final tip for your reading examination is that on the actual exam, you have to manage your time for every 10 items. Like 10 o'clock to 10:15, dapat tapos ka na dyan sa item hanggang number 10, or even better or even faster than that. Read directions and questions from the passage. Study smarter, not harder. So when it comes to studying smarter, you're not supposed to read the entire thing. You just have to grab on to your analysis and keyword linkers so you may be able to understand the tasks better. Break it down into smaller pieces. 404 Essential Examinations would really be a big help. The book that we have given you when you enrolled in the branch. So that will be the end of your lecture. Remember that how much effort you put into practicing reflects how badly you want to ace this exam. So all the things that were taught in this lecture will be applied in your test-taking strategies so that you may be able to help yourself achieve higher band scores for the reading examination as a whole. Focus on weakness and don't avoid them. That is the end of our lecture today. I wish you well and luck on your examination, especially in this examination and your future IELTS test. So, goodbye everyone. That's the end.